I'm sure you all will be having multiple questions while listening to our guest speaker, Mark Brown. Please do send it in the chat box to Toastmaster Renwick D'Souza as and when the lecture is going on. And do not wait till the end to send. It will be easy for him to handle. Please keep your questions purposeful, short, straight to the point, and relevant. With this note, it's my pleasure to invite the leader who leads the District 116 Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Raghavan Menon, for the formal inauguration.
World Champion of Public Speaking, Mark Brown. District 116 Program Quality Director, Distinguished Toastmaster K. Dayalan. District 116 Club Growth Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Mansoor Moideen. District 116 Immediate Past District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Rajeshwar Sundareshan. And all other division directors, area directors, international leaders, and dear members. Good evening. This is the last time I'll be addressing you officially as the District Director of District 116. So let me thank each and every member who made our club proud by becoming a Smedley Distinguished District, and hopefully we are moving towards our next dream of becoming on the top. If everything goes well, we should be there, but fingers crossed, we have 5 more days to know the final result. To our members, when we thought of how to give back value for your membership when this deadly pandemic struck us, the idea came up from the meeting of trios with the IPDD, from our IPDD Rajeshwar. Why not organize special lectures for members to get value of their membership? Thus came the first and most successful event of leadership lectures, wherein we saw the international presidents coming in to our homes and talking to us. Now the second is for the communication series. We are now organizing the communication coaching series, wherein world champions of public speaking, they are coming to your homes to teach you the basics and the advanced features of communication series. Now, this pandemic, which we all thought it is really bad, it is really bad, but we could turn it around for our advantage. Probably otherwise we would not have had opportunity to meet and learn from so many world leaders, isn't it? So today we have an expert who has learned this art of public speaking 25 years after winning the World Championship of Public Speaking in 1995. 25 years, that's pretty long. And Mark Brown, I have seen him in the International Convention. Many of you may not be knowing, he's the voice of International Convention. Whatever the announcements he does there, live, he does it live at the convention. The most important thing I love hearing him, which we will request him to do a little bit of sample for us to learn the voice modulation part, is introducing the 141 countries of the world where Toastmasters are present, one by one, with different voice modulation. It's something which you must learn how to do it. It's fantastic to learn about it. So we'll listen to Mark Brown today and learn what all we can do. Let me open today's communication coaching number 2, open. Back to you, Sadia.
Thank you, Distinguished Toastmaster Raghavan Menon. Now, I would like to invite the passionate and versatile Toastmaster, our Club Growth Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Mansoor Moideen, to introduce our today's speaker, Mark Brown.
Thank you, Shadia. And all the district leaders, members of District 116 and from around the world, a very good evening to all of you. Have you ever noticed that some presenters struggle on stage while others truly shine. Now, do you ever wish you knew their secrets? Here's some good news. Help has arrived. In 1995, Mark Brown outspoke more than 20,000 international contestants to win the World Championship of Public Speaking. Since then, he has dedicated himself to achieving excellence on the platform and to helping others do the same. As a professional speaker and executive speaking coach, he has mastered the simple yet powerful techniques that have served him and his fellow professional speakers for decades. The same techniques that he teaches to emerging speakers, corporate CEOs, and experienced professionals. During this highly interactive program, he'll pull back the curtain and reveal proven strategies that will help you to command the stage and master the platform. Please help me welcome the 1995 World Champion of Public Speaking, Mark Brown.
District 116 leaders, fellow Toastmasters, others from around the world, my fellow communicators, stop giving speeches. That's right. I said, stop giving speeches. Now, wait a second. No doubt many of you are thinking, what in the world does he mean by that? Well, I'd like to get your reaction to this, and you can help me. And I believe there is a button on your screen that calls for reactions. One is an applause reaction. One is a thumbs up reaction. So let me ask you a question, and please respond to my question with a reaction if you have one. Did my opening statement, stop giving speeches, surprise you or alarm you in any way? If that's true, use the reaction and give me a thumbs up, and I'll scan through my screen and see who responds. I see quite a few thumbs up. You're probably thinking, what in the world was he thinking? We are Toastmasters. We have joined our clubs to become better communicators. We want to learn how to speak and to give good speeches. And you come and tell me to stop giving speeches? What in the world do you mean by that? I'm so glad you asked that question, my friends. My thought is this: so often we try so hard to craft and write the perfect speech. We want to get the right words. We want to get the right language. We want to sound educated and knowledgeable, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the art of presentation goes beyond the words you deliver. It includes how you deliver it. It includes your presence, your demeanor, and your delivery on the platform. We're in a season now where the platform ends up being this little screen in front of us, and that makes it doubly challenging because virtual dulls the connection that we have. But we hope to get back to a place where we'll be on a platform, on a stage, with room to walk about. I say all that to say this: stop giving speeches, start giving experiences. I'll repeat that. Stop giving speeches, start giving experiences. What do I mean by that? It's one thing to deliver a speech for the audience to hear it. That's cool, all right? But the question becomes this: if the audience is in the room and they're with you, not only should they hear your words, they want to see your face, your movement, your actions. They really want to have an experience. When you tell your stories, you can talk about something, but you can bring us to that place and give us the experience. I'll give an example. You know, when we talk about speech openings, people often say, well, you have to have a good opening because you want to make sure you get their attention. Now, in Toastmasters meetings, you may be one of 3, 4, or 5 different speakers. And the thing is, at the very beginning, you want to give the audience an experience, but you want to give them an experience that involves being in the room with you. See, I've done conferences all over the world, and sometimes I'm not the first speaker on the agenda. I may be the second or third or fourth speaker on the agenda. And sometimes the person before me is very, very good, and I credit them with that. But I have a responsibility for whatever time I have to give the audience something valuable, and I want them to really hone in on me and my message. So when the first speaker or second speaker or third speaker is done, my responsibility is to make sure I can link up with that audience. So the first thing I do is I give them time to receive what that person has delivered, but then to shift their focus back on me. And there's some very simple techniques for doing this. In Toastmasters, we are introduced in a contest, name, title, title, name. That's nice. In a meeting, it may be, please welcome with a speech entitled ABC equals 1, 2, 3, Toastmaster Mark Brown. And the audience applause. We get there, we shake hands, and we start to speak. Pause. Don't start to speak right away. Give your audience the assurance that you're happy to be with them and that you're comfortable on the platform. So after being introduced and you shake your Toastmaster's hand or your Toastmaster of the day's hand, pause for a moment. Look at your audience. Let them know that they have your complete attention and they'll be more willing to give you their complete attention. I'll repeat that. Let the audience know that they have your complete attention and they'll be willing to give you their complete attention. Think about this. And if you've seen it before, give me a thumbs up in the reaction. You've been to an event, a conference, or a meeting. One speaker is finished. They announce somebody else. And between speakers, people are checking their mobile devices. I get a text from my wife. Oh, my girlfriend. No, can't do that. And we get distracted. And a speaker comes up, they're introduced, they shake hands, and they begin to speak right away. And they begin to speak while people are still distracted by the neighbor next door who's poking them in the ribs. They've got their mobile device. Something else has their attention. They're in their purse. They're doing something. When you take the stage, you need to command the stage. And the first step of mastery on the platform is mastering that stage. Have you seen speakers do that, where they just go right away and you haven't got time to process the last thing, haven't got time to meet them? If you've seen that, give me a thumbs up real quick. Thank you in the reactions. Appreciate that. What you need to do is to calm the room and own that physical space. I'm here to serve you. I'll give you my attention. I hope you'll give me yours. In a live audience setting, it's also wise to scan the audience with your eyes. By establishing eye contact with the people in the room, you are telling them, I want to link up with you. I see you. I hope you see me. And without saying a word, you have begun to create a bond with your audience. One of our mistakes as presenters is this. We get so ready, we get ourselves pumped up, we want to deliver the speech. And in our heads, out of speech. What's my opening line? How will I say that line? I got to say this word. Oh, this was a good, I love this word. It's a great word I'm going to use. And our brains are on our script, our idea, our speech. When the first few moments, you want to establish a relationship with the audience. I did greet you all when I opened my message. And I paused for a moment. And I said, stop giving speeches. My eye contact with the camera, I want to see you see me. So you want to do that first. Take a beat, take a while, and you scan the audience. You let them know I see you, they see you, you see them. We're beginning to have that contact. Because you want to bring them back here. You want all eyes on you, not for your ego. No. You want all eyes on you so you can deliver the message you have worked so hard, lovingly and caringly to deliver for the audience. You want them to receive that. So immediately that scan says, okay, we're in the room together. We've established some kind of link. Now, I know many speakers have been taught the importance of having a really good, strong opening. A really good, strong opening. And I've asked speakers, both Toastmasters and professionals, what is the purpose of a good, strong, meaningful opening? And the answer I get most often is this: to get their attention. You need a good, strong opening to get the audience's attention. If you have heard that before, in the reaction, Give me a thumbs up, please. A good, strong opening, the purpose is to get the audience's attention. Thank you. I see thumbs up all over the room. Excellent. Wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Here's the bad news. That's only half true. The purpose of a good, strong opening is partially to get their attention. The second part is more important. It is to establish a connection. A good, strong opening will get their attention, but make a connection. Will get their attention and make a connection. And that connection piece is tricky. There's really two parts to the connection. Yes, two, not one, two. The first thing is you want to connect with the audience. You want to establish some kind of relationship. And I know I got your attention early on when I said, stop giving speeches. I got your attention. But I wanted to make a connection to you as individuals to make sure you're with me. And I asked for a reaction in the chat. I made that connection. But I also want to make a connection to my subject matter. Today, I'm talking about being good on stage, mastering the platform mastery. And when I say stop giving speeches, start giving experiences, that's directly linked to my message. To master the platform, you don't just give a speech. You give the audience an experience. So a good, strong opening is to get their attention, yes, but to establish a connection, one, to your message, and two, to your audience. Please feel free to take notes as I talk, because you will use these tools effectively. I can almost guarantee when you master this. You open to establish a connection and to get their attention. Why? You want to connect to the audience and to the topic, and you have to keep your presentation conversational if the audience is going to stay with you. Now, I know growing up in speaking, I was a little kid. I had to do elocution in school back in the 1960s. We had to do elocution to recite poetry and prose and be very verbal and be very eloquent. And maybe you were taught that as well. But one of the keys to being effective on the platform, once you establish that connection with your audience and you're beginning to build that relationship, what happens is how you deliver your message is also significant. I said, stop giving speeches, start giving experiences. Well, here's a key part of the experience. The audience is relaxed when they feel your interaction is more conversational than a lecture. I could stand here and tell you, here are 9 things you must do to be effective on the platform. And you will do what I say because I'm the authority. I'm a world champion. I've done this for 25 years, therefore do what I say. But that's not personable. That's not a relationship. That's not even conversational. And when you present, if you think less about being a speaker and more about being a conversational communicator, that's what happens when the audience feels a bond with you. They feel linked to you. Because here's the problem. Sometimes the speaker has very, very high credentials and the audience says, well, he or she is so highly qualified, they wouldn't even want to talk to me. But if you feel that you're having a conversation, it's somebody you can relate to on a personal basis, then you're more willing to hear what they have to say. And part of being conversational means being honest. Be relaxed, not overly rehearsed. Be personal, not perfect. I'll be the first one to admit, Mark Brown, perfect? No, not by any means. Ask my wife, ask my children. Oh, no. I'm just a fellow Toastmaster who has spent a lot of years learning about the art of speaking. And the key is you don't want to sound rehearsed and prepared. It's funny. My first Toastmasters speech contest international was 26 years ago. It was 1994. I was living in New York at the time. And I remember I entered my club contest completely by accident. I was a late replacement for somebody else who could not be at the meeting. I worked for a company called Reader's Digest at the time, and they had their headquarters was in Pleasantville, New York, and our club was a corporate club. We met at lunchtime, and we had our club contest in February, And my role that day was to be the model speaker, the target speaker, or the test speaker. Some call it the mystery speaker for the evaluation contest. And my club mentor called me in the morning and said, listen, Mark, Dennis can't compete, and I know you're prepared to do your speech to be evaluated. Would you mind changing hats and doing that instead? And I said, fine. And I took his place, and the journey took me all the way to the 1994 World Championship of Public Speaking. I did not win. I did not place, okay? The man who won that day, his name is Morgan MacArthur. He's an old veterinarian, really fun guy from Wisconsin, USA. And he was the world champion that day. He won the contest, hands down. He was so cool. You watched him talk. It was as if he was having a nice, funny conversation with 1,800 people in the ballroom. And he and I became friends over time. And Morgan told me a story that I never forgot about the night before the world championship. Now, he has rehearsed his speech time and time again. He knows every word, every nuance. He knows exactly what he's going to say for that audience for 7 minutes on a Saturday morning. And Morgan said, Mark, you know, I didn't tell you the story, but the night before my contest in 94, a few friends of mine asked me to come with them to have a drink before going to bed. It wasn't that late. And I said, no, I'm not going to go out. I got to go back to my room. And they go, why? Well, I need to work on my speech. Wait a second. Morgan, the contest is at 9 in the morning. It's 9 p.m. tonight. If you don't know your speech by now, how can you're not going to do anything. How can you work on your speech now? Why would you even want to do that? It doesn't make any sense. And Morgan said some words that I have not forgotten. Morgan said, yes, I have to work on my speech. I need to go and take some of the polish off. I need to go and take some of the polish off. What Morgan was saying was he didn't want to be too perfect, too polished, too rehearsed. Morgan did not want his presentation to look like a well-rehearsed speech with every gesture meaning something beautiful. He said, no, that's too polished. I want to take the polish off. I want to have a conversation and give that audience an experience from my life. And sure enough, Morgan MacArthur, he wiped the floor with us that day. He was clearly the champion. He was clearly the winner. And he taught me a valuable lesson. That was the first time I had the idea, don't give a speech, give an experience. You want to establish a relationship with your audience. And when they feel relaxed in your presence, that's going to be so key. They will focus less on intricate, detailed things and say, well, you know what? I like him or her. I like what they have to say. And they may pick up a pen and begin to make notes on what you're saying. Mastering the platform is more than just being on the platform and looking good and having all the mechanics. It's about having a relationship. It really is about having a relationship with your audience. You got to engage them. And now we're in a virtual world. It's even more important to engage your audience and to keep them engaged. You know why? Right now, I can't see all 177 of you who are on this webinar right now. But I know where you may be distracted. I don't know, maybe you're in a car right now, you couldn't get home in time. You know what, I'll go on the Zoom in my car. You're in your car, you hear horns blaring behind you, other drivers. Maybe you're with your family and a child is complaining about something. Maybe somebody else on the phone over there having a conversation. Maybe the doorbell is ringing. Perhaps there's a loud clock tick in the background. Maybe an alarm went off. Maybe who knows what, a dog barking. Who knows? There's so many distractions out there right now. It's very difficult to establish that connection. But hopefully a time is going to come. We go back to our meeting rooms, our conference rooms, our auditoria, our meeting halls, and we get to be face to face with other audiences. It is definitely more difficult when you're online, facing a camera and you can't see everybody's face. But I'm hoping in your minds, you're nodding right now. You're agreeing right now. You're considering what you have to go through when you present right now. And hopefully my words are going to help you be more effective. But when you're on that platform, it has to be about the audience, engaging them, and at times interacting with them. Now, some people think, wait a second, no, Mark, stop. Audience interaction, I'm not doing a 2-day workshop or a half-day program with audience participation. And some people think, well, you can still communicate with the audience and go back and forth even when you're not in an auditorium. Guess what? We've already done that. I've asked you to use your reaction button and give me thumbs up. And so many of you have. Already we're engaging. Already we're interacting. Before we're done, you're going to use the chat and communicate there as well. We're engaged and interacting. You don't want to be purely a lecturer. And sometimes the interaction comes simply by the way you look at the audience and say nothing. It's the questions that you ask. It's how you relate to them. See, if you master the platform skills and communicate well, you master the platform, you master your audience. You master your platform, you'll master the audience. They can interact, they can participate. Simple. There are ways to lead the audience with the power of suggestion, and you can activate what's called the mirror neuron. What do I mean by that? You want an audience response, you lead them. I'm going to ask for a favor, just for the fun of it. Unless you're totally, completely, ridiculously embarrassed, would you mind opening your cameras for just about 1 minute for me? Go ahead, open your cameras. I want to see some people here. I love Toastmaster with Susan's bow tie. Man, he looks good. Oh, he looks awesome. Look at you, all from all over, offices, meeting rooms. I'm going through the whole thing. Oh, look at that. Background pictures, smiling faces, hands on the chin, phones in your laps. You all look great. Now, again, keep those cameras open. Keep them open. Don't close them yet. I'll tell you when to close them. I want to see those. Look at that. You all look so great. Man, if I looked half as good as some of you did, I'd be a handsome dude. Right now, all you got is this. You're stuck with this. That's all I got. Can't help it. Okay, great. I've got you here. Help me out. Now, by show of hands, have you ever felt that a speaker was talking at you, but not with you? By show of hands. Anybody ever felt that before? Show me your hands. Go ahead. Show me your hands. Go ahead. Yeah, right? Look at that. Hands all over the house, all over the world. Give me a little wave right there. Look at that. Give me a little wave. Hey, oh, look at that. Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Hands down. Okay, thank you. And a wave, beautiful. Before you close your cameras, I want you to observe something. Even though we are physically distanced all over the world right now, we just deepened our connection. I said, by show of hands, give me a wave. And hands were being raised all over the world. And here's the cool part. I didn't force you to do it. I did two things that was helpful. One, I asked, but I raised my hand first. And almost automatically, yeah, Priya, you saw that, right? Almost automatically, right? You raised your hand too. When you communicate with the audience and they, thank you, look at Imani, her hand is still raised, right? When you communicate with the audience and you lead them in these kinds of discussions and these kind of actions, they want to be a part of the experience. And I'm no scientist, but I'm told it's called activating the mirror neuron, where someone sees an action and they mirror the action because they want to be involved in the conversation. It's a very simple technique that I use all the time. By show of hands, can you recall anybody? If you feel that way, yeah, right? And hands go up, heads begin to nod. Two little things. Raise your hand, nod your head. And they're saying, yeah, I know what that's like. I agree. Yeah, I've been there. And before you know it, you have deepened the connection with your audience. Feel free to mute your cameras if you wish. The cool thing is you can lead your audience to take action with the power of suggestion by activating the mirror neuron. They'll mirror what you do. And here's a cool part for you as a speaker. When you see the audience react in that way and respond in that way, it assures you they're listening, they're engaged, and they're involved. I'll tell you one more secret. Audiences like to feel that their opinion matters. Audiences like to feel that they're engaged. They like to feel involved. And they like to believe that you respect their opinion. So using that simple technique tells the audience, I care about what you say. When I asked you, please use a reaction, I care about your response. When I say, please type in the chat, what do you think about this? It means I care about your response, your opinion, and what you think. Part of the idea of platform mastery is not just what you do in your speaking area. It's what you do in the minds of the audience in the hearts of the audience. It's the experience you give to them when they hear you present. And one of the key tools that you have as a presenter are the stories that you tell. Now, very quickly, I want you to understand something. In my 27 years as a Toastmaster, I've met so many people who are a little reluctant to tell their personal stories. I've gone to speech contests and heard contestants tell someone else's story, somebody famous like Mother Teresa or Barack Obama or some great athlete, and they tell the story very, very well, but I always find myself asking one question. That's a nice story, but who are you? See, I believe, with my experience, as much as an audience wants to hear you, they really want to get to know you, even a little bit. You know why? Your audience wants to find something in common with you so that your experience mirrors theirs and they'll receive even greater value from what you have to say. They want to know that they have something in common with you. So when you tell a story of Mother Teresa, which is a nice story, which many of us already know, you leave us, you don't allow us to have the relationship that we want. Remember I said it's not just a lecture, don't give a speech. You want to give an experience. You want to establish a connection. You want to build a relationship with your audience. Use your stories for the audience. Let them hear your experiences, your highs, your lows. Be willing to be vulnerable with the audience. A piece of your life and your experience. I told you one short story about me entering my first contest without planning to back in 1994. That's a true story about me and my experience. What experience can you share to inspire your audiences when you deliver a presentation? And when you tell the stories, do you simply just relate the stories, or can you create a scene for the audience to see? Can you use your platform to give the audience a visual representation? I love seeing my fellow Toastmasters who do that well. I want to go back 6 years. 2014, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, the Toastmasters International Convention and the speech contest. So many good speeches. Kwang Yu Yang, you know, life is like a box of fortune cookies, and we could see him on the chair, on the stage. We could almost see him sitting there on a bench. We could visually see the scene. World champion, Dhananjay Hettiarachi. I see something. The most watched Toastmasters winning speech in the world, over 5 million views, I believe, on YouTube. But he took us into his life. He confessed his weaknesses, and he talked about being in jail as a teenager and hearing his mom screaming down the hall. If you watch the video again, you will see how Dhananjay used the platform very, very well. Not just did he open with a bucket and a prop, but he showed the scene of his mom coming to the jail to see him. And he said, she held those iron bars and said, son, I want you to be a better man. He painted the scene of this police station with his mom coming in, seeing him in the jail cell and putting her hands on the iron bars and having that conversation. That one simple action helped us to see the scene he had created in that police station. So let me ask you this. Think about your most recent speech project or presentation, maybe one for work or one you're planning to do in the near future. Is there room for you to create a scene in your presentation for the audience to not only hear what happened, but to visualize a scene themselves? I used that same technique 25 years ago when I was competing in a speech contest. And if you want to go to YouTube and look at my winning speech, please feel free to do so. But you will see how I talked about Pat Harper, a reporter who was reporting on the homeless in New York City. You'll see how I set the scene, how she walked as they walked, and she dressed as they dressed, and she lived as they lived. And I set the scene on that New York City street in a doorway when it's freezing cold. Watch the video. You'll see what I did there. In the same way, you can create scenes for your audiences to visualize the words that you use. See, a well-told story touches the audience's heart because of the experience you give them. You trigger their imagination. They can almost see it. They can almost feel it. For example, I could talk about early morning. Last year, in month of May, my wife Andrea and I had the opportunity to visit a Toastmasters district and to speak at a conference in Marseille, France. We spent some time in a town called Nice, France. Our friend Anne was our host. We got a nice her little flat. She gave us her flat for a week. She told us, Mark, Andrea, at the end of this hill here is a little pastry shop. They make the most delightful croissants. Just go by there in the morning. You can get a coffee or a tea and a croissant. It'll be delightful. We said, sure. One morning we got up and we left the flat and we began to walk down that hill, little winding, narrow alleyway. At the bottom of the hill, there it was, the beautiful little cafe, small, with 2 tables outside. As I got to the door, I could smell the coffee. And they have a wonderful delicacy called a chocolate croissant, light, fluffy, buttery croissant with little hints of chocolate inside. Oh my gosh, it was delightful. From the aroma to the taste to the experience. And we fell in love with those chocolate croissants. And on the day we left France, Andrea and I found not one, but 2 different shops in the airport that sold the chocolate croissants. As we walked in, we smelled them. And we bought 3 dozen chocolate croissants to bring with us back to USA, put them in the freezer, and we just took our time and ate them over a series of months. We wanted to remember the experience we had having those wonderful croissants. Now, do you notice what I did there? I talked about the walk down the winding path. I mentioned the cafe, and I smell the coffee. Now be honest, using the reaction button and a thumbs up. When I smelled that coffee, did anybody, by a thumb up, imagine the feeling of smelling that coffee when I said that? Quite a few of you. That's the kind of experience you want to give to your fellow Toastmasters when you deliver your presentation. You want them to have the experience. So set the scene, paint the picture, and use whatever impact you can. And also, when you're on a physical stage, many of us know how to go backwards and go forwards. We go left and we go right to create scenes. Little hint for you. There's power in diagonal movement. For example, I could talk about being afraid or being ashamed. See, when I first came to America, I had a very, very thick Jamaican accent. I was working in a bank as a bank teller, and the New Yorkers had a difficult time understanding my accent. What do you say? What do you mean, huh? And I became so self-conscious. After a while, when I was talking, my voice would kind of trail off, and I kind of wanted to just hide away because I was embarrassed. You see how I did that? By physically moving away, almost hiding in the shadow, I use an action to reinforce a verbal message. Think of your platform as a wonderful place to do wonderful things. And in your conversation, when you're talking, use more dialogue than narration. What do I mean by that? Rather than saying, I told him to go down the street and buy me a bag of flour. Instead say, I called my son. Son, here, here's some money. Go to the corner shop and go get me a bag of flour right now. I need to make a cake for your father's birthday. Hurry, come right back, okay? Yes, Mom. In that small moment, I become Mom, giving us one instruction. I become a kid. Okay, yes, Mom. In a matter of seconds, by becoming 2 characters and using their words, I paint a clearer picture than the saying, I told my son to go buy some flour. Look for places in your presentation where you can use dialogue, individuals talking to each other, establish those conversations. What that does is it gives us, the audience, a chance to see the scene in our own minds, to envision the conversation, to hear Mom's voice. And don't be afraid to use slightly different voices to depict different characters. I just said, hurry up, son. Okay, Mom. Slight difference. Hurry up, son. Here. Okay, Mom. A slight variation in the voice tells you Mom was speaking and not child was speaking. And there's a way to test that out. Oh, yes, there is. You can use a friend, or you can use a personal Zoom if you want to, or use simply a video recorder on your mobile device. You test it out. You practice using dialogue and becoming two different characters. What you do is this. Set your mobile phone to selfie, record for 30 seconds a conversation. Honey, I'm going to be late from work. Again? You've been late for the last 4 days. What's going on? I can't explain. I'll call you later. Okay. It is going to get cold. I know. I'm sorry. You videotape that and you play it back. But, haha, I love this. You play it back for somebody else and you don't let them see it. Just let them hear it. Can they hear two different voices? Can in their mind, can they picture two different characters? And do it for yourself. Play back your own recording, but don't look at it. Listen to it. Do you hear only one voice the whole time? A father, a mother, a son? Or do you hear different voices? You know who taught me that? My dad. He's gone now, but back in the 1960s, my father used to read bedtime stories to my brother, my sister, and to me. One of his favorites was Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I know it's Western culture, but I'm curious. By a thumbs up. Is anybody here familiar with the Goldilocks and the Three Bears story using the reaction button? Anybody? A few. Okay, I see some hands on picture as well. Cool. Watch this. My father would do the voice of Papa Bear, always like this. Mama Bear, always like this. And Baby Bear, always like this. My father would use 3 different voices for 3 different characters. And I realized, oh my goodness, I knew that voice was always going to be Papa Bear. If I heard that voice, I knew it was Baby Bear. In the same way, when we give our presentations, we need to make sure the audience is aware that when we become characters, we use the voices that show who the characters are. One more key to platform mastery. When you're on the platform, you want to make sure your actions support your words. If you say, I was so angry when he did that, your audience is not going to believe you because in your anger, you probably wouldn't be smiling. But if you said, oh, he makes me so mad, I can't believe he did that, then your actions, your face, your fist support the words you say and the emotion of the character. So here's a principle. When it comes to characterization, make sure your words and your actions are congruent and they match the emotion of the character you're trying to depict. But to do that, you must first become the character. Let the audience see them. Let the audience hear them in the same way that Dhananjaya made us see his mother with her hands on the bars. You want the audience to see and hear the character. You become the character, and in so doing, the audience experiences the speech. They don't just hear it. Use props as necessary. Today, I used one prop, my mobile phone. You don't have to always use props. Don't try to find a way to force a prop. In Toastmasters, the chair has been the most well-used prop for decades. Trust me, I've only missed 2 conventions since 1994, so I've seen it used so many times. You be creative. I've used a tube of lip gloss as a prop. Use what's appropriate. Don't force yourself to use props. Don't make it happen. And sometimes one of the best tools you can use is silence. Sometimes the best words are no words. Quick point of reference, Darren LaCroix, 2001. I coached him then for his world championship speech. It's on YouTube. He's a small scene in the speech where he talks about doing a comedy routine that was not working. And he asked a woman to come behind him and do some actions while he did the words. So he wouldn't use his hands, she would use hers, but she wasn't doing anything. I said, please do something with your hands. In the speech practice, Darren said, Mark, I'm going to do this. Please do something with your hands. She did. She covered my mouth like this. I said, Darren, don't say that last part. Just do it. Please do something with your hands. She did. And the audience roared. He didn't need to say, she covered my mouth. Let the action speak for itself and the audience will get it. Now, I've given you a mouthful and a handful today, but I want to recap quickly to help you to become better on stage. Don't forget, first of all, establish a connection, not just get their attention. Give yourself time to own the space and draw the audience in. Activate the mirror neuron. You raise your hand, they will too. You want to keep your audience engaged. Let them know you value you value that communication. Don't be too polished or too perfect. Be natural, be conversational, let the audience feel relaxed in your presence. Relaxed, okay? Calm, not crazy. Use dialogue. Let the audience hear two people communicating, and change your voice to make sure dialogue matches. Take advantage of your speaking area. Can you go left, right? Can you go deep? Can you go diagonal? Can you use the staging area to create different scenes for the audience that can not only hear the speech, they will see it and they'll experience it. And don't forget, be like Morgan MacArthur. Take the polish off. Master the platform. Establish a relationship with your audience. And when you do that, you will stop giving speeches and you'll start giving more experiences. I do want to leave one more idea and one more thought with you before I'm done, but I was led to understand that there'll be a time of questions and answers. I'm going to invite our master of the questions, Toastmaster D'Souza, to kind of lead us through that. I'm sure you've been giving him your questions. We'll take some short, specific questions for a few minutes. And I'll leave one more closing thought with you before my time with you is over. With that thought in mind, I'll ask Toastmaster Renwick to marshal this part of our program.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Mark Brown, for a wonderful session. We have a lot of questions coming in, especially pertaining to people's experiences, considering the tips that you've given. So without further ado, let's dive right in.
Sure.
We have a question first up from an anonymous person who's asked that it's been 25 years since you've been the World Championship, since you won the World Championship Public Speaking.
Yes.
How do you still maintain that award-winning voice?
How do I maintain my voice? Well, it's the only one I have, so I must take care of it. Actually, I do drink a lot of water, partly because my wife makes me drink a lot of water. It's healthy, it's safe. I don't do a lot of dairy products when I'm going to speak, for example. And there are times I simply shut up and not talk. Over the years, I've had struggles with laryngitis, and I use an herbal throat spray called Singer's Saving Grace. It's honey, it's lemon, it's garlic, and I'll spray my throat with that and rest and not speak for a while to give my voice a chance to recover. And I don't talk all the time. Trust me, I don't. But drinking water, trying to stay healthy, physically active, and keeping my voice, my throat hydrated is helpful to me to maintain my voice.
Thank you. The next question comes from Jaykumar Menon. He asks, after having a strong and powerful opening with the intention of getting the audience attention and connecting with them, what do you do if the audience doesn't connect?
What do you do if the audience doesn't connect? Well, maybe I got to go back to find out why they wouldn't connect in the first place. And it's my responsibility as a presenter to try to know what's going on in the audience's experience. If I go to a corporate event and they just heard the CEO was fired, their minds may be in a different place. So it's important to understand where the audience is in their mindset, if at all possible. And bearing in mind, I bring my material with the purpose of serving the audience, right? Not just one of, I'll show them how good I am. I'll tell them what I can do. I'll share my awesome experience. No, I want the audience to understand that I'm there for them. So if you have an opening that you really believe is going to work and it doesn't, you got to find out what's going on in their minds. What can I say that's going to relate to them and connect them to my topic with the idea that I'm there with the relevant topic in the first place? And it may take some work. And honestly, it may take an honest conversation at that point, abandoning your script and having an honest conversation. And I've only had to do that once in a presentation before, but it worked.
All right, thank you. We have another question from Chris Dahu. He says that a popular tip he received from experienced Toastmasters when he started was to open with a question. How effective is this when opening a speech?
How effective is a question for an opening? A question can be a very effective opening if the question is relevant to the audience at that time and with the topic. I could ask, has anybody seen a paper this morning? The newspaper. I could, but is the question relevant to the audience and the topic? If the question is relevant to the topic and the audience and addresses a concern that they have, then because they're interested, they'll be drawn in. One of my mentors is Patricia Fripp. Patricia Fripp is a Hall of Fame speaker, and she's one of the best. She was the first female president of the National Speakers Association. She says, one important thing is this: your subject must be of interest to your audience. So if your question is in line with that, chances are it'll be a good question to ask to get the audience engaged.
Thank you. One very popular question which comes up is, how important is it to add humor in a speech? Does a speech have to be funny to be effective?
Does a speech have to be funny to be effective? Not necessarily, but humor certainly helps a great deal. And humor is difficult in a virtual environment when you can't hear the audience laugh back at you. You can hope your humor works. But humor gives the audience a chance to enjoy the experience. Humor can also bring a light comic relief to a difficult, tough situation. If you look back at Sherry Sue, who was second in the world in Toastmasters back in 2018, told a very difficult story about her mother and father fighting and her mother throwing sauce on the wall and storming out. And she's a child and she's in pain, and her father comes to her and says, I must ask you a very important question. How do you clean sauce off the walls? And the audience laughed because it was comic relief to relieve the tension of a difficult situation. So humor is effective, but also knowing when and how to use it can make you even more effective. Short answer is, humor can really help your talk be very, very effective.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Mobera. You spoke about using dramatics in a speech, raising the voice, lowering the voice. But how do we strike a balance between having an overly dramatic speech and the content of the speech as well?
How do we find a balance? It becomes overly dramatic if it's not what you would normally do. If you were having a meal with 3 or 4 friends or family, and you were telling a story of an experience you had, if you would not tell that story in the same way as you would with those 4 friends, it means you're doing something different. The question is what? And 2 questions. What are you doing differently and why? There's no need to go over the top. If you say I was really angry, then say I was really angry. Don't say I was so angry I wanted to punch him in the face and kick him in the groin. If that's not what you really would say or how you really feel, then don't try to sell the audience on an emotion. You simply deliver it as you would in a conversational setting for the audience to see it. The best speakers in the world aren't overly dramatic. They are genuine, they're authentic, and that makes them credible.
All right. There's a question here from Singaraju. He says, there are some speakers who are not as expressive as you are or other world champion speakers. So how do they engage the audience, and how do they keep the audience interested in what they have to say?
Well, good question. Engagement isn't always because somebody is very expressive. Engagement often comes from the knowledge that the speaker really truly wants to connect with you. Not every speaker is as vibrant as Darren LaCroix. Oh my gosh, he's all over the place. You know, and we're wonderful together. We do so many things together, but we're very different. Ed Tate is not the same as Darren. Darren Tate is different. Manoj is different. We're all different individuals. We don't have the same gestures, the same style. Your personality comes out in how you present. And your authentic, genuine personality is what the audience needs to see. And part of the engagement comes from your willingness to be vulnerable about your own life, your own experience, your own mistakes, your own successes. So it need not be wild gestures or bold movement. It's the genuineness that comes from your personality, the truths that you tell, and your willingness to engage the audience, even though it may be less animated than other people are. And I hope you don't feel that because you aren't as anyone, you aren't as animated, you can't be effective. Oh no, some really cool, quiet people can get attention. Bill Gates is not super animated, but people listen to him, right? So be yourself, be honestly yourself, and find common ground with your audience, share that, and begin to build that relationship. And you'll see some head nods, you'll see some and you may get a few smiles too. And use whatever humor you have. Don't try too hard to tell jokes, but find the humor in your situations and share that with your audience as well.
Right, thank you for those tips. Suresh here asks, could you give some practical tips as to how we can adapt our speeches to the online platform? What do you do to make it as effective?
Well, I tell you what I do. Certainly, one thing I do is I will use PowerPoint slides every once in a while, and I'm going to share a couple before I'm done after the Q&A. I use PowerPoint slides as supporting images. I don't replace my words with a slide that it can read, because my feeling is if you can read my words off a slide, what do you need me for? Okay. But I will use visuals. I will use PowerPoint. I will certainly interact. I'll ask for reactions. If I'm in a smaller group, in a meeting with 25 people, I'll have them visually show me. I can see all 25 at one time. I'll have them raise hands. I'll have people talk and interact. We use chat. We use polls sometimes during my keynotes. You know, I had a webinar with a company that had, I think, 500 people on the webinar. Beforehand, I arranged to have 3 different polls being used at 3 different times strategically during the presentation to engage the audience, to get them to react and to respond, and so keep them involved in the process. That's very, very helpful. You know, again, I've used reaction buttons here. I turned your cameras on, you waved at me, you raised your hands, you nodded. You have to find ways to engage the audience and chat, poll, reaction. Sometimes having other panelists, if your program allows you to do that, so somebody else can speak, is also very helpful. You can also change what you present. You can use, again, PowerPoint. I use my phone as a prop. You can even get a picture on your phone and show that. A different way to engage the audience during the process. Don't always be the talking head. You know, you could even play games with an audience. You know, you could play games. Yeah, you could play games with an audience in a virtual setting just for the fun of it. If I said to you right now, if you don't have your mobile phone in your hand, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Go get mobile phone right now. Go, 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 go. And tell you to go. Chances are somebody will say, you know what? I'm going to get one right now. Why? Because I have a purpose. So you engage by having the audience be actively doing something. I may say, you know what? Right where you are right now, as a matter of fact, help me out. Find a book, any book close by, and hold it up on the screen so I can see it. I have one right here. Find a book, anybody, find a book. Go ahead, find it. Go, 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 go. One book, any book. Here you go. Atomic Habits, got that one. There you go. Look at that. Wow, magazine. Whoa, look at this. Books all over the place. Oh, man, that's awesome. Thank you so much. You're readers. You're Toastmasters. Thank you. Thank you. Put those books away. Okay. I just did that, Renwick. Now, I could have a reason for getting a book, okay? But we're engaging. We're doing an activity together. We're doing an activity all over the world on a screen. What's my point? There are creative ways, like the polls, like the chats, like the activity, like using the props, having the audience involved where they don't feel they're going to sit there for 2 hours while you just talk, 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 talk. I hope you find that helpful.
Great, thank you. We have a question from Toastmaster Roxana, who asks, what are the rehearsal tips you do to get maximum mileage from your practice sessions before you go on stage and deliver a speech?
Rehearsal steps. I don't rehearse my speeches word for word. I have not done that since my contest 25 years ago. I rehearsed that word for word because every word was chosen for a purpose and with a plan in mind. But for me, I'll rehearse certain phrases, certain sections, and I'll choose the words carefully. I'll go over them again. I'll maybe modify the inflection for the impact I want to have. So even after 27 years being a Toastmaster, I still believe it's important to go over and rehearse. I still make notes. I still check my flow. No, that should be over here. That doesn't fit. I'll remove that over there. Okay. And I prepare myself to deliver the presentation. I had notes for today's program because I think it's important to be at my best. So my techniques are rehearsing in the room, rehearsing in the car, rehearsing in the shower, just to make sure I've got the ideas in my head. Sometimes I'll run something by my wife. I'll say it and have her tell me how that sounds to get her perspective. And the other thing is record yourself rehearsing and play it back and ask yourself, is that how I want to look? How I want to sound? Is that what I really want to say? So for me, those techniques help me to be better on my own. So when I actually deliver it, I feel that much more confident. And it's also helpful to have someone you trust be someone who can look, listen, and give you an honest assessment so you can see how you're doing. That works for me.
All right, thank you, Toastmaster Mark. Before we leave, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that Toastmaster Mark has some final things to say to us. So we'll have one last question relating to you, Toastmaster Mark. After all these years of delivering or presenting speeches, do you still get butterflies in your stomach before you go on stage? And how do you overcome it?
It's funny. I often tell my wife, honey, what do I tell these good people? Oh, you'll be fine. It's okay. And I learned something. I generally only get butterflies if I don't believe I'm properly prepared. My nervousness comes if I don't think I prepared myself well. And I will tell you this, even as a professional, I have my standard presentations that I have prepared I can give anywhere I want to. But I like to customize my remarks to accommodate and to meet the needs of an audience. So I don't just open a can, here's my speech, and toss it on people. I really want to work at preparing for them and preparing well. So for that reason, if I don't do that well, I'll get concerned and nervous. But here's what happens. I turn nerves into enthusiasm because my mindset is this. Please catch this. I believe every single time I take the platform, either an online platform or a physical platform, I believe with all my heart, my purpose is to serve my audience. And if I do that well, they will derive benefit. Because my greatest fear, and I may have told this to the Qatari audience when I went to a convention several years ago, my greatest fear is not giving value to my audience. So I invest the time and effort to work at it, because if I don't give value, I've wasted your time, your energy, your effort, and I would not have served you well. So if I'm not prepared, I'll get nervous a little bit, but I'll also say, don't forget why you're doing this, Mark. You're bringing all your experience, all the lessons you've learned, all the mistakes you've made to this audience at this time for a purpose. Give it to them, bless them. I believe I need to give the audience my best. And that's the last question, correct?
Yeah.
I'll use the last question to get to my last point. I remember preparing for the 1995 World Championship. I had a speech I had planned to deliver. I had gotten it in my head from 94. If I ever get back, I'll give the speech. And it wasn't very good. I told my mentor, David Brooks, 1990 World Champion, I said, David, this speech is not good enough. And I wrote to him, I said, my audience, you, my family, and my God deserve my best. And this is not it. So 19 days before the speech contest, I threw out the speech I had spent 6 weeks on and changed it and wrote a brand new speech. Only 5 people, my family, my main coach, and 2 of my staging coaches saw that speech before I delivered it in 95 at the World Championships. The speech that won me the title, the speech that brought me here, but was prepared in fewer than 3 weeks because I knew I had not given my best in the previous speech. And I tell you that to respond to the idea of being nervous when I'm not prepared, it is up to me to prepare myself to be at my best for every audience. Because not only are you depending on me, I believe my mentors depend on me. I believe those whom I mentor depend on me. I believe my God depends on me. But most importantly, there are people I know who depend on me. And those people are my number one team. That's my family. On the right, opposite me, is my son, Joel. He is 33 years old. He's a manager of staffing in the Washington, D.C. public school system. Wonderful young man, highly educated. Beside him is my daughter, Andreen. I call her my princess. I'll get to her in a second. In the middle, red hat, my son, David, 25 years old, a talented musician, producer, writer, skills beyond measure. Next to me is my wife, Andrea. This past April, we had our 38th wedding anniversary, and she was with me in Dubai a couple of years ago with a program at TriStar, thanks to Toastmaster Balaji and his invitation. My daughter, Andreen, in the front. She's 36. She's battling multiple sclerosis. As I deliver this message right now, she's undergoing an MRI to check out her spine. Don't worry, she's an amazing, wonderful woman. I call her my princess. She's physically active. She's very strong. She will get married in August to a man who I think is like me. We tease her, say, she's marrying her dad. But she is also a wonderful source of inspiration. When she was 11 years old, she gave me advice to help me win my semifinal back in 1995, believe it or not. She really did. This is my family. When I speak because I know I represent them. And they inspire me and they get me fired up. And whenever you present, if you want to master the platform, don't just master the skills on being on the platform or the voice you use or even the words that you say. Go deeper and ask yourself, why do I speak? Why do I share? Why do I deliver? Why do I open myself up to others? Why do I give a part of who I am? For me, my journey has been full of ups and downs, left and right, and so many different things. I brushed with death back in '93, but through it all, I've had my team, my family stand with me. And when I get nervous or get concerned, I know, even though they're not physically there, they're there behind me. Because here's the last story I must tell before I go. In 1995, when I won the world title, I was on stage in San Diego, California, 3,000 miles across the country from my hometown of Mount Vernon, New York. And my little girl gave me an envelope with a card in it after I got the trophy. But I was on stage, cameras flashing, people were cheering, the news media came, and I put the envelope in my pocket. I'd get to it later. A couple of hours later, we're going to go to the pool. I get back to the hotel room. I'm taking my coat off, and I find the envelope. It was sealed. Daddy was on the front. I unsealed the envelope. I opened it up. It was a greeting card from my kids. They'd written in it, Daddy, congratulations, we knew you would win. And my son, David, was only 10 months old. He scrawled on there, I don't know what he wrote. I was so blessed. I said to my wife, honey, look what the kids did. They got me a greeting card of congratulations. She says, honey, you don't know the real story, do you? So what do you mean? Well, those kids wanted to give you a card, and they saw that card, and they bought that card with your money. Of course, that's what kids do. But she said, you don't understand. The kids saw that card. They bought that card. They signed that card. They put it in the envelope, and they sealed the envelope before we left New York to come here. Because that's how much your kids believe in you. So when I say this is my team that holds me up, that lifts me up, that inspires me, I really mean it. So the question becomes, who inspires you? And maybe in some small way, if I can, and if I have, I'm honored to know that. And there's ways to stay in touch with me to learn more from me. You know, I work with Darren LaCroix. We put together a podcast called the Unforgettable Presentations Podcast. It's produced every Thursday. We interview some of the best speakers in the world, and we also give high content. Feel free to do a screenshot here and then take your mobile phone and scan that QR code. It's a free podcast every Thursday. We've gotten 43 episodes already out, and we began doing this right after convention last year in Denver. Check us out. If you want to get hold of me, maybe you're really, really serious. I mean, really serious to the point of investing in speech coaching. If that's you, do me a favor. Screenshot this screen, then scan the QR code and find out how I could help you on a high professional level. If it's not for you, don't worry about it. You may still want to stay in touch with me, and here's how. You can screenshot this screen to see my website, my Facebook page, my LinkedIn page, my Instagram, my Twitter, and also my YouTube, okay? If you want to get to my page directly to talk to me some more, you can get more info from me. You can get my updates, scan that QR code, and sign up for my updates. You get a free MP3, 5 keys to living the life you want. It's totally on me. You can follow me on my page. You'll get my updates whenever I deliver them. That's all I'm going to offer to you because I believe I can serve you more. And if I can, that's how I would do that. Let me stop sharing and say one more thing. For me, it is a privilege to spend some time with you today. I know it's hard being home and not being on the platform like we want to be, but if you take these tools, these tips, and these techniques, if your mindset is one of serving, not of being seen on stage, if your heart says, what can I deliver as I build these skills to be more effective, you may enter a contest. You may win, you may not. But the most important thing is you will connect with your audience. You will stop giving speeches. You will give experiences, and you will change the hearts, the minds, and the lives of the individuals who invest their time to hear from you. So please tell your story. Someone needs to hear it. Use these techniques, share your life, share your wisdom, share your heart, and be excellent communicators. I'm honored to have served you this evening.
Thank you so much, Mark. That was indeed a great learning session we had. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Toastmaster Ranvik D'Souza, for handling the question answer session. Now the time has come to conclude this meeting, and I would like to invite the dynamic and compassionate Toastmaster, our district logistics manager, distinguished Toastmaster Rajesh VC, for the vote of thanks and closing remarks.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies Sadia Sharif, Toastmaster Mark Brown, District Trio, fellow Toastmasters. Good evening. It's my pleasure and privilege to propose vote of thanks on behalf of District 116. First and foremost, my sincere gratitude to Toastmaster Mark Brown. You not only taught us how to shine on stage, but also grow and glow on stage in our Toastmasters journey and in our professional life. I am sure Toastmasters of Qatar would put all your thoughts and words into actions in coming days and take the Toastmasters journey to a greater heights. Let me personally thank you, Toastmaster Mark Brown. If you feel I have paused, can you give a thumbs up?
Pardon me?
Yes.
I missed the comment.
Toastmaster Mark Brown, if you feel I have paused intentionally, give me a thumbs up.
2.
Yes. Thank you so much. You have taught me to pause and connect with the audience. And your thumbs up shows that I've learned how to connect with the audience and you as well. Thank you so much for the beautiful session, amazing session, wonderful session. Hats off to you. Secondly, let me thank the role players of this event. Toastmaster Venkat, our host, the one and only host, I call him always, a man who is at our service always. The Master of Ceremonies, Toastmaster Sadia, the question answer moderator, Toastmaster Ranvik D'Souza. This event has its shine and glow because of your professional management of the event. District 116 extends sincere gratitude to all of you for making this event a great success. Thirdly, let me thank the audience for being present on the screen, glued to the speeches and your effective questions. Your effective questions have made this event a fabulous training session, bringing out the wisdom of speaker onto the screen and into our ears. Toastmaster Ranvik D'Souza, you have made this event an interactive by acting as a bridge between the audience and the speaker. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Ranvik D'Souza. Thank you so much, audience. And thank you so much, Toastmaster Mark Brown, once again, for the fabulous answers and enhancing the knowledge of the audience. Last but not the least, we cannot leave thanking Distinguished Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Raghavan Menon, Program Quality Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Thailand, Club Grow Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Manzoor Moidin, and the brain behind this communications and leadership series, immediate past District Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Rajesh Sundareshan. You all have ensured that Toastmasters get their value for membership. Thank you so much for that beautiful session. Let this communication series continue on and on. With this, thank you so much. I thank all of you for giving me an opportunity to propose vote of thanks for this event. Sincere gratitude. Bye-bye. I think we can unmute all, right?
Yeah, you can unmute yourself and you can speak.
We'll have a photograph session. Photograph now.
Photos are taken, by the way.
That's it.
You got the photos? You got
Yeah,
photos?
we got the photos. Yeah, we got the
Okay,
photos.
excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, some folks don't want to leave.
No, I think we had a maximum of 187 participations, sir.
Oh, excellent. Pleasure.
Fantastic. Very good participation.
One of the best training.
Thank you. And
we have
thank you
attended,
again,
yes.
Toastmaster
Yes.
Souza. Thank you again for your help. I really appreciate your help. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tim, for the wonderful session. Loved it. Hats off to you all, the district.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Job well done. People are still hanging out. That's interesting. Some are gone, some are still here. Very, very interesting.
Belated wedding anniversary, DTM Mark Brown.
Ah, yes. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Yes.
Oh, happy anniversary.
That actually, the compliment has to go to my wife because she's the one who's stuck with me all these years. I made out on the deal. You know, she's a blessing. She's wonderful, and those who met her will know she's absolutely amazing. And helps keep me grounded. Helps keep me grounded. Oh, some young people here too. Love that hair. Look at that.
You told me.
Look at those kids. Ah, Musa has kids there. Wonderful. Greetings to the kids. Look at that. Low bandwidth as well, unfortunately. So hopefully it doesn't get cut off. But yeah.
Thank you so much for the nice speech. I really enjoy it. And wish to meet you, inshallah, in Doha.
Oh, we'll see. Yes, inshallah. Who knows? Maybe I'll get to come to that part of the world again pretty soon. We never know. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for the wonderful session.
Pleasure. Is what Nirmala? Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, pleasure.
Mark,
pleasure.
you visited Doha earlier, right?
I was in Doha now. I was it 20?
It was 2011.
11?
Yeah, I remember you giving a
It's been 9 years,
Sheraton.
really?
Yeah.
I remember you giving a speech in Sheraton.
What? Yes. I was telling Ben.
Yeah. I
was,
was very new that time in Toastmasters. Now today I am a DTM. Thanks.
Oh, wonderful. 11, it's been 11 years? The thing is, time goes by so rapidly. I forget, what year was that? Was it 2004, Australia? What?
No, 2011, yeah.
11 was just 9 years ago. And
I remember you walking with Jutas Paul in the corridor. I was thinking that Jutas is so lucky to walk with the world champion.
I am just a fellow
I'm
Toastmaster.
so glad I'm able to speak to you online. Thank you so much.
The honor is mine. Thank you. A pleasure.
Thanks for all the enlightenment. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mark, I was happy, lucky to watch your GTAC keynote speech on Together Towards Tomorrow.
Oh, are you serious?
My God, mind-blowing.
You remember that?
Yeah. Still, I remember your actions, how you moved on the stage, how you ended up. People were running together, right? And the children, you put that a circle with the hand,
Oh,
my
man.
God.
That was 19 years ago.
Yeah, I still remember that.
Together Towards Tomorrow,
Yep.
Manama, Bahrain, organized by Ramesh Mahalingam.
Yes.
Let's see. Who was also there? It was Vijay Balur was involved in that conference as well. And then there was, what was it? Who was it? If I see his name, it'll come back to me. Yeah. It's hard to remember names going back 19 years. But, oh gosh, Vijay and Bharti Balur, Ramesh and Jaya Mahalingam, and there was also a couple of other prominent Toastmasters there, and I can't think offhand of their names.
Mr. Ponnuchami was there, I think. Yeah.
Was that?
Mr. Ponnuchami also was there, right?
Ponnuchami, yes, Geeta, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Geeta and Ponnuchami. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, Ponnuchami.
You're from Bahrain, right?
Yeah, Bahrain, 2001, Manama, at the Holiday Inn. I remember that. Yes, well, a pleasure serving you there. And I'm really happily surprised you remember that title Together Towards Tomorrow, because I went to Dubai in 2003 when they got the provisional district banner, and they were part of 79P at the time. And you have all just grown so rapidly in that part of the world. I'm continually impressed with the growth on that continent. And you can teach us a lot here in North America about club growth and district growth. It's really phenomenal. And I commend you all. Really, it's wonderful. I would confess, I had a conversation with our CEO, Daniel Rex, about this a couple of weeks ago. Okay. And he also agreed that in your part of the world, the hunger to do well is just so palpable. And he was also very complimentary about what's happening as your districts are growing and splitting and just coming better and better. So yeah, you are not unnoticed in this part of the world. You are not unnoticed. You are highly respected for what you're doing. So my compliments to all of you. All right?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Because we were #1 district last year. That's why.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you're letting us see what can be done if we put our hands together and work. And I will tell you this, in the last 2 months, I've had the opportunity to deliver presentations in all over the continent. I mean, Bangladesh, Nepal, Vietnam, India, Singapore, Philippines. I forget all the countries I've been in. I got to really go back and look at my calendar. But Sri Lanka, certainly, and Saudi again. But having met so many people in that part of the world, Bahrain and so on, I just enjoy your company. I enjoy the multi-ethnic flavor I get when I'm in with a group like yours, and I feel very, very much at home. And hopefully, I'll get to come back to Dubai pretty soon, and I'll get to bring my bride along with me as well. And it's always a joy, always a pleasure to meet people there and to serve you and to work with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. People are still here, 48 people still here.
Thank you, Mark.
Don't you all go to bed tonight?
I'm going to close the meeting.
Yes, I must say my farewells. Good to see you all.
Bye.
Blessing. All right.
Thank you, Mark. It was a
Bye,
wonderful
Mark.
meeting.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye, 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 bye. Mark, thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you.
Venkat, don't close. Let people talk to each other.
Huh?
Let people talk.
You can talk. You can talk. No. Pick your phone and call them. I have to go home.
You go home, log in, and close the meeting from there. Till the time we talk.
Thank you, Venki. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Make me a host and go. I will.
Thank you all. Nice meeting.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a safe
Bye.
weekend.
Thank you, Paitra.
Hi,
Thank you, IPDD. Thank you, IPDD.
Tomorrow, I mean, after 30th, no IPDD.
I thanked IPDD. You heard?
Thank you very much. See you. Okay, happy
See you.
weekend.
Bye-bye.
IPDD, I thanked IPDD. Did you hear?
Yes, of course.
And IPDD, I heard your speech in RA meet also, huh?
You're keeping two earphones?
Yeah, actually, I'm keeping 2 earphones.
That is because he has only 2 years. Otherwise, he'll keep 3.
Good. Nice. No, this session, our session went on very well. Huh?
Very nice. I heard
Very
it.
nice. Oh, fantastic. The amount of...
It was power packed.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many attended at a peak?
187.
90.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah, 190.
190. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Super.
Very. Next is who? Yalan?
Next is Mark Hunter.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
What's he talking on?
I think
Content.
Yeah, content.
He's walking now. No wheelchair, no?
Wheelchair, yes.
Still wheelchair, huh?
Yeah. He's always on wheelchair.
He can walk little bit, but not too much. Actually, he lost his leg. I mean, this thing due to a skating accident.
Okay.
Ice skating.
Okay.
It was not. He was not. I mean, born like that. It happened due to.
He was in Oryx, maybe 5 years before you were in Oryx, Rotana.
Correct. I only brought him 10 years ago.
10 years ago now. 10 years.
And I was at
Even Mark Brown, I have seen him in Sheraton.
Was it in Holiday Villa Hotel or Oryx? I thought
Holiday Villa.
Yeah. I was
the director that time. Yeah.
So I was the CGT. By the way, Rajesh, You spoke so well today. You were blunt, you're open, and to the point at the RA.
No, I didn't know I had to speak. I just
but they just picked you. Yeah, you spoke so well. Yeah.
Now you should
Okay,
speak
do you
like that,
need
sir.
my presentation for tomorrow?
No, pardon, no, you're not sent me, so I'm waiting for that.
I'm ready, almost ready. I want to do
Okay.
some fine edge tonight. Is it okay?
Yeah, that's fine, sir. That's fine. Okay, I'll just leave because I might have to speak there at the RA. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Good night.